You wanted to talk about hyperstructures, and in fact, I think that this segues really nicely into hyperstructures, which is just that you had talked about how I guess like what I wanted to say to what you had said before was that implementation is the only thing that matters. Of course, intention is nice, but implementation is everything. And so this is what got me into the conversation about hyperstructures with Aaki and Jacob, was that I once again felt like people were peeing in my motherfucking pool, right? I felt like, wait a second, these are the people that I trust, and this doesn't make sense to me. And just because it doesn't make sense to me doesn't mean that it's necessarily wrong, of course. But I pushed back a little bit, and then I got some openness to that pushback. And Kevin was kind of like, okay, why do you think that? And then I worked on it some more, and I wrote an article about that. I can share that with you for the show notes if you want. And I sent that to Kevin as well on Twitter, and he was also open to that and like received it really graciously. This kind of nobody who was criticizing his like a cherished idea. And later on, it was, through continued discussion, that was how Kevin and I ended up speaking. And so the reason that I want to talk about this is because I feel like this is the epitome of what we want to emulate in the kind of Web3 that I want to be associated with, is an openness to the possibility that we're wrong. Kind of like, sometimes this is called Doxastic Openness, is like, it might be the case that I don't actually know what's going on, and that these people that are telling me that I'm not right are being very generous to do so. And I was just super appreciative to him for taking that orientation. And like when you and I were on the call earlier, I was almost in tears as I was thinking about the fact that he chose to do that, because it's hopeful for me that we are creating communities that have those sorts of practices, and that the people that have some of the biggest microphones are willing to receive kind of the feedback and the criticism. Because once again, intention is lovely, but implementation is everything. And the only way that we get to implement good implementations is collaboratively, right? The reason we practice open source software is because we want many people to be looking at the code. And so that's what got the conversation with hyperstructures started. And now I'll let you kind of direct me into where you think is useful or interesting.
Yeah, before we get into hyperstructures, just on that last note real quick, I'll also say I noticed your response when you were talking to Mike Elias, and he used the phrase proof of precarity. And I just appreciated the fact that I can tell, like, live in the moment, you're like, oh, I'm going to use that. And then I happen to notice you have a video called Proof of Precarity. And I just want to emphasize to your point, right? This, like, yeah, let's have conversations, let's evolve, let's get ideas from each other. Sometimes it's going to be like, yeah, someone rejects your idea, and so you develop a stronger defense, or maybe you adopt a different idea or a different approach to it. Other times it might just be like someone else listening to the conversation gets a different perspective, and you don't have to convert everyone to your perspective. But I think that the more Web3 innovators, experimenters, theorists are having these conversations, the stronger we'll all be. It's kind of cliche at this point, but it's like we gotta iron sharpens iron, and you got to recognize that there's a lot of different perspectives. And it's kind of dangerous in the world of smart contracts and blockchain, because like one misstep with your economic theory and the incentive mechanisms are all wrong, and you have a shit coin. So we gotta put each other through the test a little bit to make sure that we're actually producing real value. And I think that you're holding true to that in that conversation.
Yeah, that's the game to play. There's something even to say briefly about how people will listen to you. People will receive you more. Like your persuasiveness might actually be more as a result of making statements about how you could find out that you're wrong, right? And they sense that. People sense the fact that you have taken on one of their ideas and maybe gone and played with it. And so I think that sometimes our reaction to our orientation is needing to be right, and that undermines our ability to be persuasive more often than not. And so I think that it's a lovely practice to do it with yourself, because then it creates more openness for others, which then creates more openness for you, and so on. Maybe this is like a totally obvious thing, but sometimes I think on Twitter that sort of thing doesn't come through.
The vulnerability psyop. I see you. I see what you're up to. You're just trying to get your memes to spread. No, I'm just kidding.